We are in gate 58, the joyous, and we have the second line, which is called perversion. This is one of those lines that some people feel really uncomfortable about. I've never done a reading for someone with this line, but I can imagine it might feel awkward to sell somebody that they've got the line of perversion in their personality sun. It's 70% of who you are. It might be a little bit awkward. I don't know. So do you have this line? I would love to hear your experience of it. Perhaps how you felt when you were told that you had this line, or something maybe you picked up from the analyst, because very often Ra said that these lines that have this sort of negative connotation, when you tell the person who's got them, they're like, yeah, because they've been living with it. But it's the analyst or it's that person telling them that feels awkward about it. So, do you have anything to share around that? Please do leave a comment if you would like to. You are invited. You are informed that I would very much appreciate your input. Would you like to? So, I used to say that if you do a reading for anybody, or if that's your path, and you only give people the bad stuff, they're really happy. And I've noticed this as well, because they find it so easy to recognize those things in themselves. But if you give them only good stuff, then they start to think that, you're not actually very good at your job, that there's something wrong. Most human beings think that there's so much about them that is at fault somewhere. And they're so happy when you give them negative aspects that they can project on. So the 58 too gets called out and its energy gets used for unusual things. If you think about it, a 58 too who works in human design could be called perverse by other people who don't like or understand this kind of stuff. That word perversion can mean many things to many people, and not all of those things are perverse in and of themselves. It's just the way in which they're viewed. We know that second lines are all about projecting outwards. The 58 too is projecting out. I have the energy to enjoy giving this energy to any challenge of authority and any logical experiment. That's what I enjoy. So, what this energy is given to could appear perverse to a great many people. And there's no exaltation in this line. So, that's another place where people can get even more caught up. Just the detriment, a genius for perverse stimulation that afflicts oneself and others by promoting degeneracy and reducing joy to indulgence and decadence. The energy which fuels the desire, no, that fuels the drive, for perverse stimulation. So the 384 lines that we are exploring in this journey around the wheel are covering the code of the genetic totality. And that's what we find in the language here, really. It's an expression of the genetic totality. So the collective that needs the energy to build a park for the children, to them, anything that the 58 too is going to do, anything that isn't related to building that park, they're going to put every bad name and label on it that they possibly can. You can't live that out comfortably unless you're living out your own nature. With any of these lines, in all of the 384, if you're living out your nature, then you are equipped to deal with whatever the results of that are, whatever the consequences of that are. It's the payback, if you like, or it's the silver lining of living out your design or living out your correctness, is that you have that ability to roll with what comes back at you. The 58 too says, I will provide energy for any kind of process. And then they get offered a lot of really weird things because they project out that they're open to anything. And sometimes they're paper tigers and they won't go through with whatever it is they're called out for. Oh, they decide, no, I'm not giving my joyous energy to that. But due to the projection, they get all kinds of people that never had access to energy before because they don't meet 58 twos every day of the week. So the 58 too ends up providing their energy for unusual, different forms of challenge to authority. It is our social morals, because the collective stream is deeply moralistic. It's very critical. It knows what is right and wrong, and it's not going to hesitate to tell you. There is a judgmental channel here, and therefore these people get judged as being perverse. Why did you give your energy to buying yarn when you could be feeding starving blackbirds? And it's not about making a judgment about these people because they have this line. The moment that you explain to them what it's doing, what the energy of it is, telling them that you are projecting out your energy being available. That's what you're putting out there. And so you're going to get all kinds of people who bring strange things for you to put your energy into. They understand that because that's what their life has been about. Many of them get hooked on that because, it's an outlet for them. They get their opportunity to see their energy move through. All the other logical people that are not getting access to energy start making judgments, saying, why are you doing that? You could do this and that with me. Why are you so perverse? I need your energy. This would be healthy. This is logical. But don't get caught up in being judgmental about the name of a line. Just see it for what it is. There are some great creative forces that are rooted in the 58-2. Without them, the collective would be very poor indeed, swamped by committees for building roads. There are many things in the collective that the majority of the collective are interested in that bypass essential things for the minority in the collective. Now, it doesn't mean that those things should be totally overlooked. They have as much right to legitimate investigation as anything else. That's what the 58-2 is good for. They can be brought into things that belong to minority interest in the collective, providing their energy there. The fact that the majority doesn't like it, okay, it's another story. If they're entering in as themselves, where they put their energy will be conditioned by their recognition and learning about the other. If they enter in as themselves, their minority challenge can be of value and not be something that really degenerates. You can challenge the authority in many shapes and forms, whatever you do in life. If you're a 58-2, it's going to be conditioned by who knocks on your window. So you better know how to enter in properly as yourself. Ra said time and time again that second lines need education in discernment. Don't just answer any call. Know that it's okay to wait for the next knock on the window. The grounding is through gate 52 in the second line of concern. The second line here, it's like the epitome of second lines. After all, the 52 is the gift of being able to avoid distraction. Everything just clears away. And of course, the second line is all by itself in its isolation, not distracted at all. So perhaps the grounding is in bringing some focus to what our 58-2 considers to be a perversion, or some focus on who is calling it out for its energy, some discernment. And it can do that because it's not getting distracted. The moon has been in gate 44 since 2329, the splenic gate of alertness, of coming to meet. And then the moon moves into gate 1 at 10:45. So we're going to have a bit of an individual thing now with the moon. It goes through quite a few individuality gates. Gate 1 is the creative, the gate of self-expression. It's expressing individuality, which is unique. It's mutative. Gate 1 doesn't express itself creatively for the purpose of mutating you or inspiring you. But if you're empowered by what you see in gate 1, then maybe you will start doing your own thing too. And at 21:56, the moon moves into the individual Ajna gate 43, the gate of breakthrough and insight, and it meets Uranus in gate 23, the gate of assimilation. And we have the channel of structuring from genius to freak. This is a projector channel, and it truly does excel when it waits to be recognized and invited before speaking. This protects the energy of the channel And it also indicates that the person who you're going to speak to, who is inviting you out, is receptive to your frequency. Don't go casting your pearls before swine. And finally, the moon moves into the sacral where it stays for the next 4 gates. But we begin with gate 14 in at 9:01 tomorrow morning. So it's still individuality here. This is the gate of power skills, possession in great measure. This is the accumulation of resources, which might be money or goods or energy or presents from Father Christmas. And it's the skillful use of those resources and energy. Okay, so third line day tomorrow. And yeah, I hope all is well with you. I send you my love as always. I wish you well. Love yourself. And yeah, go gently. Bye bye.